Now there's one thing I wanted to go over with you guys because I talked about this Rippin' Moto kit. So just a couple of videos ago, I showed you guys this box and said there was a way to transport your eMoto inside this box. I can't wait to show you guys, and I was too excited I had to open it up and try it out for myself. Let's go out to my bike barn and show you guys exactly what this is because I think this is absolutely an awesome way to transport your eMoto. Look at this thing. It is so tiny, and this thing carries an eMoto. This is absolutely bonkers at how small these Velocity Volt racks actually are, but they're super functional. Let's go ahead, let's install it. But first, let's talk about regular bike racks and why this won't work, but also why they're super convenient. Most regular bike racks like this Kuat Piston Pro X can only handle about 60 pounds per tray. So this type of rack isn't going to be feasible. But the main reason why I love hitch racks, even on the back of a truck, is it makes it super easy to load and unload, and it makes you more likely to be able to use your bike whenever you want to go somewhere. Without convenience, a lot of times you just wind up leaving your bike in the garage because it's too much hassle. And a bike rack will solve most of that problem. So now a Velocity Volt rack will work on any 2-inch hitch that's going to be a class 3 or higher. So pretty much all of your trucks and SUVs, this should work for. And it just slides in real simple. Then once you've got it slid in and you've got the hitch pin hole lined up with your hitch, then just take a simple hitch pin, slide it through. And then I use a locking one. This isn't supplied with it, so you'll need to pick one up for yourself. They do supply a regular hitch pin, but a locking one's a pretty good idea. That way nobody can come up and just take this off your vehicle. Now we've got this locked into place, but that's all you have to do. And to assemble this rack, you just have to put one bolt in right here, and that's it. And it uses these nice little wing nuts, so you don't need any tools to assemble this rack or to install your bike. All right, let's go ahead and get the eRide Pro over here and we'll load it up and show you guys how that works. Now, a real quick note, these bolts right here do come out and these actually flip. So if you have like a Sur-Ron Light B, a smaller version, then you would want to flip this over. And in the instructions or the online instructions, it tells you how to do all this, but it comes pre-set up for basically eRide Pros, Talaria MX-5s, the larger size kind of eMotos. So if you have an eRide Pro, this one's already set up, ready for it. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove these little wing nuts right here. Just be careful because on here you do have a locking washer and a regular washer, and you're going to want to orientate them in this order. So regular washer, locking washer, and then wing nut. And then this is going to be your peg mount right here. Just set these aside. And whenever we get the eRide Pro, I'll show you how these go on. Now, Velocity Volts recommends that you remove your eRide Pro battery. That way, it's just a little bit safer in transport. But honestly, I think you could get by with leaving it in there. You just have to come up with a different way of strapping it down to the rack. So let's go ahead, let's remove the battery just because that's what they recommend. And then I'll show you guys how to install this. And if you're not familiar with how to remove your eRide Pro battery, it's real simple. Well, I say it's real simple. It's actually kind of a pain, but you just unlock this little case right here. Make sure your handlebars are out of the way. Then you're gonna wanna remove these. But first, let's go ahead and flip this switch before we take the main power unit out. There's a kind of a breaker box down in there. This is the one that's always a pain. I wish that they would redesign this for the eRide Pro 4.0 whenever they come out with that. Such a pain in the ass. Oh my gosh, I hate this process. There we go. Okay, now you want to keep these cables out of the way, just like this, and then we're going to pull straight up. Gosh. Golly, it's so heavy. Okay, now that we've got that, we can simply just tuck these down in here and we can close this lid, take our key. I'll just put it back up here in the ignition. Okay, so now that the bike is significantly lighter, I think about 50 pounds lighter, we can go ahead and load this up. And the easiest way that I've found is to kind of just grab underneath here and grab underneath the seat and just lift it up. If you have somebody that can help you, even better. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna come over here. I'll put my kickstand up You don't want that to get in the way. Straighten out the handlebars. Put my hand underneath here, kind of get my arms locked in and lift straight up. Watch out for the pegs. And then you just kind of set it on there. Now there is a little lip right here. Let me bring the camera closer and show you. So what I like to do is this little opening right here seems to be a perfect fit for like this notch to butt up to this point right here. So I just try to kind of scoot this back until it kind of seats down into that notch. Now the next thing you want to do after you've got this in here is you need to be able to slide it back and forth. You're going to want to look at both of your pegs. You've got 4 kind of like little windows here on your pegs. You're going to want to line them up with the hole that is on the rack. So it looks like I need to go back just a little bit. So you should just be able to kind of wiggle this back until you get it to where it's just lined up with that. And then the other one should be lined up also. So it should look something like this on this side, and then something like that on that side. Next up, you're going to take these little peg, I call them like peg locks, and you basically just slide these in here just like this, and that's going to lock down on your peg. Then we're going to take our locking washer, our flat washer, and our wing nut. You'll put on the flat washer first, then your locking washer, and then the wing nut. And then what I like to do is just kind of get this started on this side to where it's kind of pushing down on it just a little bit. And then we'll go over to the other side and do the other peg. And then you just go through here and you just start tightening these down as tight as you can until you basically can't turn them anymore. My recommendation is bring a set of like pliers with you. That way, in case you get to your location and you can't actually turn these by hand because you got them down so tight, you'll have a tool to help you with that. And I've also seen some people use locking nuts on these and impacts where they basically can get the job done really quick. And there we go. That is locked in, and that bike is not going anywhere. Now for the last step, and one that's going to just kind of secure it a little bit more, they supply you with this little ratchet strap right here. You basically just run it through the frame, and then you'll find that there are additional holes on each side of the rack. These can actually hook down in here just like that on both sides. Just hook them into those little extra peg holes is what I guess I'm calling them. This is just an extra bit of security. I don't know that it's 100% necessary, but I think it's a good idea. And there you go. Now it's strapped via the ratchet strap and then these peg holders right here. Your bike is literally not going to go anywhere. This is the only part that I want to get a hitch stabilizer installed on this rack. And I would recommend that Velocity Volts looks into this because most major bike racks have these already for mountain bikes and road bikes and things like that. Basically, it prevents them from going back and forth. Now, I've got something that's really simple that would actually work for this, thinking about it now, that I'm probably going to just install. Let me go grab that and show you what that is. So you can actually pick up one of these for about $6 to $10 on Amazon. I'll put a link down in my description. Essentially, this is just going to slide on whenever you put the rack on. So you'll slide the rack through here, and this bottom portion here is going to actually be flipped like this. So the rack will slide like this, and then you'll thread these bolts up, and it'll push up against your rack and your actual hitch. So this is going to lock it fully into place, so you wouldn't get any of this side-to-side motion. But if I'm really honest with you, whenever I was going down the road on my way to Chadwick, I had this on my wife's SUV, and whenever I was going about 60, 70 miles an hour, I didn't notice any movement at all. The only time I noticed any movement was whenever I was on like a small dirt road where I was hitting some potholes and things like that. But the minimal amount of movement on this and the way that this Velocity Volt rack is actually made, it's extremely robust. There's not really any fail points on this rack that I can see. There's no little tiny parts, nothing made of plastic. It's solid, like steel tubing, and it's super simple. And yes, the price is pretty high priced for what it is, but when you look at the simplicity of it and the capability of it, I think it's priced really well. This is gonna make traveling with this bike so much easier. And not only that, it's going to allow me to use this on multiple vehicles. I no longer just have my truck to be able to take this bike around. I can actually take this on my wife's SUV. If something happened to my truck and I couldn't take my truck, I could pop it on another vehicle like her SUV and still hit up the trails. So I think this is a really awesome add-on to your eMoto setup. If you guys are gonna be traveling with your bikes at all, I highly recommend checking out the Velocity Volt setup. And RevRides does sell these. So I actually bought mine through RevRides. I did pay full price for it, and I don't regret it at all. I think this is a great purchase. It doesn't take up any room in my garage. Like a typical bike rack takes up a ton of room. And this one just doesn't take up hardly room at all. And I absolutely love it about that. So now we've got this loaded up the way that Velocity Volts actually recommends by putting the strap through this frame right here. I do think that you could leave the battery in. I don't really recommend it because I haven't tried it, but I think that this rack is definitely strong enough to handle it. You could probably leave the battery in, and then you could somehow ratchet strap over this, or maybe come through this area right here to avoid the battery. You just wouldn't want to ratchet strap down on the plastic lid right here. But with the ratchet strap, it does make this feel really secure. So I do recommend using this. So let's not waste any more time. Let's just take it out for a spin to show you guys how this thing looks while it goes down the road. Overall, I am very impressed with the stability of this rack. This is without a hitch stabilizer, but like I said, you can get a hitch stabilizer for around $6 to $10. They're super cheap and easy to install. It's just an extra thing that you'd have to do if you don't want to have any little wobble at all in your setup. Next time I go out, I'm probably actually going to try that. But as you can see, riding through city streets, this thing looks absolutely awesome on the back of my truck. I get a lot of looks whenever I go down the road with this because I don't think very many people have seen this style of setup. It literally looks like the bike is just hovering there. But I wanted to show you what this would look like going off-road. So let's go ahead and let's take this thing off-road where it's really bumpy, and we'll put this rack to the ultimate test. So there you go. That was the Velocity Volts eMoto rack. Look how simplistic this is. There's not really anything that can go wrong with it. And in my opinion, this thing at $330 is really cheap for what this thing offers. It may not have a lot of bells and whistles on it that some people will say will justify the price, but the simplicity and the convenience and how lightweight this thing is makes it well worth it. And guess what? I got you guys 5% off of this rack, which is better than what I got because I paid full price. If you guys want to get 5% off of it, use my code Mike5 at checkout, and it'll get you 5% off this rack on RevRides. And of course, if you guys want to pick up your very own eRide Pro 3.0, highly recommend it. Definitely go over to RevRides and use my links. And if you want to get free Warp9 pegs with your eRide Pro 3.0, you can do that with my coupon code eMotoMike. But guys, leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think of Velocity Volts racks. These things are super cool. They're coming out with a 2-bike rack. I don't think that's available yet, but I believe you can pre-order it, but I'm not 100% sure. It's definitely going to be on my list whenever I pick up a second eMoto. I'm not sure when I want to do that, but I do plan on doing that hopefully later this year. Now, there's one thing I wanted to go over with you guys because I talked about this Rippin' Moto kit that was supposed to be able to space out my chain. And I told you I was going to install this on my 3.0. Well, after I made that video, I quickly realized that this was designed for a 420 chain, not a 428. I contacted Rip and Moto and said, hey, is this not really going to work for my 3.0? They said, unfortunately, it's not. However, they did say that they'll look into making one specifically designed for the 3.0. I let them know that I would give them any photos or videos that they might need to be able to get this thing made, because I want to get this spacer put on my bike so whenever I do pick up new tires eventually, I never have to worry about that chain getting in the way again. So for now, if you've got a 3.0, hold off on getting this, but if you have a 2.0 or the original SS, this thing will work for it. And I believe it works for some Talarias also. But that's gonna do it for today, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around for this long. If you did, you might as well click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Definitely hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm, and leave me a comment. The interaction with you guys in the comment section has really helped push my videos out to the algorithm. And if you are a true eMoto mic fan and you like the content that I'm putting out and you wanna contribute just a little bit more, jump over to my brand new Patreon page, Mike's Unlocked Garage. All right, guys, as always, get out there and ride your eMoto.
I got you, yeah, SOS, thought you was a threat. I do real life, do no tip and tat on the internet.